I enjoy Netflix. It is a pretty good service. But if you are anything like me, you probably browse through Netflix all the time and think, almost everything is garbage. Have you ever wondered why there is so much bad content on Netflix? To answer this, we have to look at how Netflix makes money. Netflix makes money from subscriptions, with the two concurrent HD streams for $10.99 a month being the most popular. While standard television networks have to rely on high viewership to sell ads, and premium networks like HBO have to make must-see content like Game of Thrones to justify their subscription fees. Netflix, however, goes a different route. They judge their content based on watch time. Let me explain. There are 720 hours in a 30-day month, and you pay $10.99 a month for your Netflix subscription. You are essentially paying 1.5 cents per hour of watching Netflix if you watch Netflix non-stop during the entire month. However, most people watch Netflix a lot less than all day every day. According to Time magazine, in 2015, the average subscriber watched 568 hours of Netflix a year, or 46.7 hours a month, which translates to 23.5 cents per hour of viewing. And because Netflix is entirely on demand, it doesn't have to contend with being the must-see option. It just has to worry about having content that people want to get around to eventually watching. As an example, it costs $4 million to make an episode of Orange is the New Black. To justify the cost of each hour-long episode, it must be streamed for at least 17 million hours, which is an astronomical amount of viewers for any show during a live broadcast. The number one comedy on TV, The Big Bang Theory, only gets about 14 million viewers per episode, or 7 million hours of cumulative watch time. But keep in mind, those 14 million people watching The Big Bang Theory are only watching the live first-run broadcast. The on-demand nature of Netflix allows for it to pay off its content over time, because you can watch an episode of Orange is the New Black the day it comes out, and you are essentially paying 23.5 cents of your subscription fee to the show. You can also come back a year later, rewatch that same episode, and it is essentially another 23.5 cents paid towards the show. But what does this have to do with bad content? In the eyes of Netflix, every hour you watch is 23.5 cents of its money well spent. So while Orange is the New Black may cost $4 million an episode, most other shows, films, and comedy specials cost significantly less. So when Monique claimed she was offered $500,000 to do her comedy special, Netflix only needs the special to be streamed 2.1 million times over the course of eternity for it to pay for itself. So if it hasn't been made apparent yet, Netflix's original content does not always need a lot of viewers to be considered successful, especially when we consider that Netflix has a global audience of over 118 million subscribers. And this is where the low-quality content comes into play. A lot of people watching a bad show can make just as much money or more money than a lot more people watching an expensive show. Take Fuller House, for example. The 13-episode first season is 6.5 hours long. According to Netflix, within the first 35 days of its release, there were 14.4 million viewers. If all those viewers watched the entire series just once, that is around $21.9 million in subscription fees that were spent towards the show. That is not a bad return on investment for Netflix for 6.5 hours of content in a little over a month. And once again, that is just the first 35 days. Season 1 of the show is already 2 years old by now. This leads to the final reason why Netflix makes low-quality content. Netflix owns it forever, or at the very least, the digital streaming rights. Unlike traditional shows and movies, Netflix doesn't pay out royalties because it buys the content up front. For instance, when you watch Friends on TBS, the actors, the production staff, the owner of the series Warner Brothers, and NBC, the original channel that aired the show, all get some sort of royalty payment when the show airs on TBS. And since Netflix has the streaming rights to Friends, all those people and companies received royalties when Netflix paid $120 million to stream the series for a decade starting in 2015. However, when Netflix makes a show, it keeps that show and remains on Netflix indefinitely with no plans to release those shows elsewhere. This is a great deal for Netflix because it pays for a show outright and upfront and can profit from it indefinitely even if viewership is relatively low. So when it comes to low quality content, Netflix does not need must-see TV. It just needs, I guess I can sit through this TV.